Prabhu, would you be sharing a screen?
Yes, Prabhu. Which shloka? This Brahma-saṁhitā you'll start, Prabhu, or with Krishna?
Brahma-saṁhitā we can start.
Yes. Share.
Yes. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Om Tat Sat. So, Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for Saturday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. And as a special program due to Damodar, we are also doing Brahma-saṁhitā. Today we will be taking up verse 5.51 from Brahma-saṁhitā. Let's read it. Agnirmahi gaganamambu murad disascha kalastathatma manasiti jagatrayani yasmad bhavanti vibhavanti vishantiyam cha govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements, that is fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul and mind. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of the universal cataclysm. So, this one clearly highlights the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the beginning, as the middle, and as the end for this material universe. And for him, there is no beginning, there is no middle, there is no end. So this is, whatever we can think of, all of them are there. Like, the talks about, if you the 3 worlds, that is the upper planetary system, the middle planetary system, and the lower planetary system. Beyond that, there is nothing. Now, in all of these 3 worlds, what it is made up of is these elements. Bhumir, Nalo, Vayu, the 5 elements. Then there is this mind, time, mind. Here it talks about the soul, which is the jiva. Then mind and time. This have been given. And in different ways it has been discussed. Elsewhere, the 5 elements plus the 3 elements, like that. But here the mind comprises of all the 3 elements, which is the intelligence and mind, intelligence, and false ego is also included in the mind here when it is referred here. So in other than that, it is also talking about time and the jiva, the soul. So all of these things, these are the only things that are there in all the 3 worlds. Beyond that, there is nothing. And all of these things which are there in all of these 3 worlds, where is the origin of all of this? Is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not just simply the origination. Sometimes when we don't know, when we after it is originated, then it doesn't become, it becomes someone else's job. When we actually see, like, whatever things that we do, I will say though, my service is simply to give class. It is really Prabhu's job to display the thing. I don't know. I can't help it if it is not working. I can say like that. But when it comes to Krishna, he is the originator, he is the maintainer, and he is also the, what do you call, the annihilator. And in all these three words, that means he is the all in all, end to end, complete. There is nothing beyond Krishna. There is nothing above Krishna. There is nothing equal to Krishna. Just that he is the person. That's all. Everything is subject to his manifestation, subject to his control, subject to his desire. Now we can see in Srimad Bhagavatam, the first verse itself starts with this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That is understood. After that, the most important one, which is relevant to today's verse, Janmadasya yato anvayad itaratas chartasvi abhijnaha swarat. The specific translation of this is like this. It says, O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. This is for the first line, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now the second line which we read today, Janma Dasya Yato Anvayat Itaras Charteshvi Abhijnaha Swarat. That translation is like this. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe. And further, the next line, and it also says, he is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause behind him. So up to this is that line, what we read, the translation. This correctly corroborates with this Brahma-saṁhitā verse which we read now. These are the 6 elements, the 8 elements, and they are all emanating from him. All the 3 words are comprising of only these 8 elements, and all of them are emanating from him, all of them are maintained by him, and all of them are also annihilated by him. That is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can even see in Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, 4th verse, Krishna says, Bhumir apo nalovayuhu kam mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme binna prakriti ashadaha ashtada earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energy. So here also he talks about these 5 elements. Out of this 8, the 5 is spoken specifically in this Brahma-saṁhitā, and then it talks about time and also mind. That mind actually consists of here mind, intelligence, and false ego. They are included in this definition in the Brahma-saṁhitā that I was reading in another Prabhupada's purport on this Brahma-saṁhitā verse. So, and Prabhupada is very nicely explaining there, so, okay, this is all fine. This is all for you devotees, We are all karmis and, we are reaching the Lord through the karma yoga and jnana yoga. So ours is slightly different, this doesn't conclude like this, no. So Prabhupada explains there, even these karmis are all part of this, this 8 elements, that the mind, the body, and all that. So anything that we do with the body, that is all related to the karma activity. This is for the conditioned soul. So the conditioned soul, some point may say, oh, this is fine. This is all for this bhaktas. But for us, it is different. But the karmis are included in this definition of the 8 elements because the body is also part of the 8 elements, and karma is done through this body. And all this that is generated because of the bodily actions is part of the karmic activities. And that is also, which is part of the 9 elements which emanate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maintained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also annihilated. So that we need to remember. So they can't say we are out of the scope of Krishna's, the definition of what Krishna is supposed to be in terms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For me, it is something else. No, even for the karmis. And then Prabhupada talks about the jnanis, because this mind, intelligence, and false ego, that is also included with this within this definition. And therefore, that is also part of the eight items that Krishna is talking about, for which he is the originator, he is the maintainer, and he is the controller. Therefore, any kind of tattva, any kind of philosophy, whatever people can churn out, either speculatively or indirectly given in the Vedas, and they follow that and call this is my philosophy, whatever it is, everything is included within the definition of the scope of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And therefore, he is the master of everything that exists anywhere in any of these three material worlds. The spiritual world is a separate thing altogether. That he in Bhagavad Gita he will talk about it later. But right now in this this fourth verse of Bhagavad Gita, he says clearly, altogether these constitute my separated material energies. Therefore, he is basically controlling all of this through his separated material energy. Just imagine, that is not even his direct control, but they are all, that means that is not at all important. But even that, I just do it. I don't, I'm not conscious, but, it happens by my power somewhere. That is the level of Krishna's, this one, of the material world management. He doesn't even have to bother think about it. It is happening by his separated energy. Yes, he's doing something else, but these are all controlled completely by his separated material energy. Therefore, this is like, they say, this is child's play. I mean, very insignificant. All of these three worlds, from Krishna's point of view, management, creation, or management, or destruction, this is very insignificant activity from his perspective. And we are thinking this is the greatest, we are the greatest, and we are. But this is not even a small, minute portion of Krishna's control, span of control, or potency, or whatever you speak about. That is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Brahma has clearly understood that. And Brahma is elaborating that for us. And if you are to look at all of these Brahma-saṁhitā verses in totality, that is it. One becomes perfectly Krishna conscious. There's nothing more to speak after that. That's it. One surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Brahma has put everything in this, whatever number of verses that he has given, that if we are able to understand Brahma-saṁhitā, then we are back home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada has been so merciful that, you can really see Prabhupada, how he has brought out the core of core things to our, to our knowledge. And, that is the best, the cream of cream. That is what Prabhupada has brought and given us. That, this will be all of us are somehow exposed to the cream of cream. And by some mercy somewhere, we are able to read these things. And suddenly our consciousness is changed. Suddenly we can become open. Our inner mind opens up suddenly. Because we are exposed to the cream of cream knowledge. But if we are not able to take up, even after so much of spoon feeding by Srila Prabhupada, then, then there is literally there is no scope for us to go back to Godhead. So if we take up Srila Prabhupada's books very seriously and read them, there is nothing else that is required. I sometimes see many people, is there anything more that I can read? They're asking. I said, what are you talking about? Do you understand what you're asking? No, there is nothing that Prabhupada has left behind and you are asking for something. So then these are completely speculative people. That Prabhupada has dealt with everything what is important to be known. And we have even not scratched the surface. I have seen these are physically my own experiences. Now, why you are going there? Because Prabhupada is selling the basics. I want to go much deeper. What deeper? Prabhupada has given everything so deeply, but our mind is not able to understand the depth of it, and therefore we think this is all very basic. So the fault is with us, not with Prabhupada. But people have such kind of thinking. They are enamored by seeing something outside and flowery things and say, oh, this is so deep, though. This is so, they don't understand any of those things, but they think because of the floweriness of that, they think that is much higher. But Prabhupada has given everything so beautifully. One paragraph of Prabhupada, if you are able to understand deeply, there was this instance once, right? Prabhupada said, you read this Krishna book, that is enough for you to go back. Then later he told him, no, you read this one chapter, that is good enough for you to go back. And he said, you read this one paragraph, that is enough for you. Only he extended to say, you read one word from thing. So that means one is the potency of what he has written. That one word, when he says that, how will you understand? In one word, what will you understand? Now I am reading Prabhupada's books, earth, that is one word. What will I understand? How will I go back? That is to talk about the potency of Srila Prabhupada's words, what he is given. The second one is you read one paragraph of me, you read one paragraph Srila Prabhupada's purport. And if you have to go deeper, you can go for 2 hours on that subject matter. And we all know Prabhupada said, if you have to read one sloka, if you have to understand, there's a number of so many verses out there. So one sloka a day will take so many. That calculation is there. I'm not able to immediately recall. It will take X number of years. You read one sloka of Bhagavatam, then one sloka of Bhagavad Gita, one sloka of Chaitanya Charitamrita, this much. But actually, elsewhere I read Prabhupada saying, for you to understand one sloka, just one sloka, you have to understand. Understand means it is not reading and, it is about the realization of that. You have to keep on reading again and again and again and again. He says it will take a couple of months for you to get one sloka right. This is understanding of it. Later realization, later, application. There are so many things within that. But that is the depth of what Prabhupada has given. But if we can want to simply scratch it from the top of the surface, that is okay. So this is very important, and we are very grateful for Srila Prabhupada. If there are any specific pointers on this which anyone wants to share from this particular verse, we can discuss for a couple of minutes. Okay. So if nothing, we can go to the next section, which is Krishna kidnaps Rukmani, right, bro?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we will read this section. So here, what I see is it's an entire chapter, and there is very little commentary by Prabhupada on this one. So, and the slokas are actually complete in itself. Very rarely Prabhupada has given any kind of commentary. So I will mostly be reading, and very little that I will be explaining. But that is itself is very, and the flow is so very beautiful and very nice. So let's go with that flow. So this starts, it's in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 53rd chapter. We will do the entire chapter. This is the first sloka, which I will read in Sanskrit, and later everything I will just read the translation. Shri Sukha Uvacha Vaidarbhyaha Sutu Sandesham Nishamya Yadu Nandanaha Pragrihya Panina Panim Rahasan Idam Abravit. Sukadeva Goswami continued. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus hearing the confidential message of Princess Vaidarbhi, Lord Yadunandana took the Brahmana's hand and smilingly spoke to him as follows. So here, the background is that this Rukmani's brother Rukmi was very keen to marry off his sister to Shishupala, who's an enemy of Krishna. And Rukmini naturally is not interested in that. And her father, because of his love for his son, and that he just decides to go ahead with the son's plan. And therefore, Rukmini was not given a choice at all to say, okay, are you okay with this proposal of marrying this Rukmi? So in this context, Rukmini is interested, or rather, Rukmini, we all know, is the consort of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is no question of her, getting married to this guy, Rukmi. So she actually sends a messenger, a Brahmana, to Krishna to say there is a kind of an emergency here. These fellows are all plotting to marry off me to this guy Rukmi. So you please come and protect me. And you please come and marry me off to Shishupala, not Rukmi. Sorry, Rukmi is the brother. So you please come and protect me and take charge of things. So she sends a message to Krishna like this. And this particular thing we are reading is that point where this Brahmana has conveyed the message to Krishna. And what is Krishna's reaction to that? That is what we are reading here. It says, thus hearing the confidential message of Princess Vaidarbi, that is Rukmini. And that area where they were ruling, her father, that is Vaidarbi, and therefore princess thing. Lord Yadunandana, that is Krishna, took the Brahmana's hand and smilingly spoke to him as follows. What does he speak? We will see that. The Supreme Lord said, just as Rukmani's mind is fixed on me, my mind is fixed on her. I can't even sleep at night. I know that Rukmi, out of envy, has forbidden our marriage. This is Krishna's words. Next. She has dedicated herself exclusively to me, and her beauty is flawless. I will bring her here after thrashing those worthless kings in battle, just as one brings a blazing flame out of firewood. So Prabhupada explains here, like when you rub two very dry firewood, then due to that friction, then the fire manifests out of it. So like that, Prabhupada is saying, when he's if I have to read his own words, Lord Krishna boldly predicted that Rukmani would come forth to take his hands, and that in the process, the wicked kings would be burnt by the fire of Krishna's determination. This is how Prabhupada writes, so beautifully writes. How that comparison with that analogy of firewood. And, while in the process of taking Rukmini, that same fire will also consume all this, these wicked kings. So in the process of taking Rukmini away, he will kill all these demons. Sukadeva Goswami said, Lord Madhusudana also understood the exact lunar time for Rukmini's wedding. Thus he told his driver, Daruka, ready my chariot immediately. So the Brahmana, when he came, he also mentioned what is the date, what is the muhurtam in which the marriage is being organized. So Krishna knew, therefore, what is the time in which it will happen, where it will happen, how it will happen, or at least how it is supposed to happen in the minds of Rukmi and his father. But because it is not going to happen anyway, right? That's a different story. So Krishna told Daruka, keep my chariot ready. And this I heard, it will generally take 3 days to travel that distance. But Krishna covered it in one night. Of course, he is faster than the mind. We have read that in Damodar Ashtakam, where the Acharyas are explaining when Krishna is running, child Krishna is running, Damodar is running, his mother is chasing him. At that time, the commentary is mentioned. Krishna can run faster than mind. Krishna can run faster than mind. So if my mind can now suddenly think, I want to be in Seshadripuram temple, I am there. If I think I should be in Sahakar Nagar, I am there. If I want to be elsewhere, I am there. That fast is the mind. But Krishna is faster than the mind. So then why should it take the whole night, in fact, traveling? But this is all in a contextual way. This is the Leela of the Lord. But just imagine 3 days physical travel. Normally for anyone, if someone completes it in one night, you just imagine how fast those horses should be running physically, right? This is amazing thing. And somewhere it is also mentioned the names of the horses. Daruka brought the Lord's chariot, yoked with the horses named Saibya, Sugriva, Mega Pushpa, and Balahaka. Balahaka. He then stood before Lord Krishna with joint palms. Yes, Master, I am ready for your service. Just like Garuda is always sitting right in front of the Lord, ready in that posture, ready to jump and start. I've seen in this Srirangam, the huge Garuda will be there opposite Ranganatha. And there it is written. The posture in which Garuda is sitting is that the minute he can immediately spring to action. That is the post. Like, when you do the running race, they say, they squat in a particular way. And once that whistle is blown, you can just project yourself, move fast forward by just, from that position, it is easy to move forward. So Garuda is actually sitting in that position. If you see in most temples, and particularly in the Srirangam, it is written like that. He will be sitting in that posture. So like this, here, the Dharuka is ready like that. Anytime Krishna orders, I'm ready to move with these horses. And it is mentioned, what is the color of these horses also in the purport, it is written. Saiba was green like a parrot's wings. Sugriva, yellow gold. Mega Pushpa, the color of a cloud. And Balahaka, whitish. So these 4 horses. See, there's so many things, right? It's not how so personal it is. See, in Bhagavatam, to go on, okay, Krishna went his chariot and, the horses went. But the importance is given to the horses also, what color they are, such detail, and talks about the personal touch that, nothing is impersonal here. Everything is so very nice and very elaborate. There are so many times the descriptions of, the ornament, so many things like that. And how can people simply think of impersonalism? Mind-blowing, who would even care to talk about the horses? Okay, there were 4 horses, or why even as the chariot is ready, so Krishna went. But here, the horses and what is the color of those horses, that level of detail, that is what is Krishna is. Very personal, very personal. There's absolutely no impersonalism about Krishna. Of course, he can manifest impersonalism. That is also an insignificant portion of his potency. Next. Lord Sauri mounted his chariot and had the Brahmana do likewise. Then the Lord's 5th horses took them from the Anartha district to Vidarbha in a single night. So this is where Krishna was in Anartha district at that time, and they had to go to Vidarbha. So Vidarbha is the kingdom of Rukmini's father. He was ruling there, and they had to go to Vidarbha, where the marriage is also was planned by her father and Rukmini. Haribo. Next. King Bhishmaka, this is the name of Rukmini's father. King Bhishmaka, the master of Undina, having succumbed to the sway of affection for his son, was about to give his daughter to Shishibala. The king saw to all the required preparations. So here, this Bhishmaka, who's father of Rukmini and Rukmi, he did not have any specific preference for this Shishupala to be his son-in-law. But because his son wanted Shishupala to be his brother-in-law, his father said, okay, because he loved his son so much, so he wanted to satisfy his son. But what about his daughter's wishes? Should he not ask her? opinion, are you okay to marry this guy, Shishupala? He did not ask. Because of his over affection for his son, he was trying to sacrifice his daughter. So that is written by Prabhupada also. Had no particular liking for Shishupala, but rather acted out of attachment for his son Rukmi. Next verse. The king had the main avenues, commercial roads, and intersections thoroughly cleaned and then sprinkled with water. And he also had the city decorated with triumphant archways and multicolored banners on poles. The men and women of the city, arrayed in spotless raiment and anointed with fragrant sandalwood paste, wore precious necklaces, flower garlands, and jeweled ornaments, and their opulent homes were filled with the aroma of aguru. So, you see, even now, 5,000 years later, we also do the same things. So it's not like, we are so much advanced, or that time everything was primitive. No. See, the word used to use, see, commercial roads. How our cities are planned. At least we don't plan properly. There was so very clarity about everything. The city would have been clearly demarcated with the different aspects. So the commercial roads, here within residential area, they have so many shops disturbing people, or some marriage hall in the front of a residential area. So all the time some music is blaring like this. But here the clear demarcation of things. And in those places, intersections, nicely clean, sprinkling water. It is written, when you sprinkle water, then the dust is settled. It doesn't fly around like that. So sprinkled water and archways decorated with multicolored banners on poles. So we also do the same thing, right? There are so many banners. They are stuck on poles and so different signboards. Again, they are nicely dressed up, all fragmented sandalwood. We now only use all this artificial fragrance, pay thousands of rupees to buy a small bottle, and that creates cancer later. So people are so eager to take such fragrance. But here, sandalwood paste or precious necklaces. So today, all these worthless junk is used as ornaments, if you really see. Not real, proper, these great metals. Flower garlands. Nobody keeps flowers these days, right? Nobody keeps, sometimes it's some artificial flowers people keep, but the real flower people are not interested. Even in our times, we used to see, like, people wear nice flowers in their head. My younger days, I've seen my mother, and many of them used to. Today, if you see nobody wears anything, everybody hair is let loose completely. Flower garlands and jeweled ornaments. And their opulent homes were filled with aroma of aguru, and opulent homes. No poverty-stricken homes there. All opulent homes. It is not talking about one area. It is talking about the entire kingdom, how people are. So very opulent, so very aristocratic, so very beautiful, blissful. This is how the world was when the Supreme Lord was present here. We'll see the next one. O king, in accordance with prescribed rituals, Maharaja Bhishmaka worshipped the forefathers, demigods, and brahmanas, feeding them all properly. Then he had the traditional mantras chanted for the well-being of the bride. So these rituals, how it needs to happen, there are these procedures given. All the Vedas are all about how to perform these various sacrifices, various, what do you call, the uh, rituals means all the samskaras, how all those have to be performed, how these various rituals have to be performed. Those are all very nicely documented. And this Maharaja Bhishmaka, father of Rukmini, is well versed in all of these things. So generally we say, right, even today, if you do marriage, before that, before day or something, they will try to do something related to the forefathers. Do you know the name, Maribel, what they say? Nandi, they say. I don't know how many of you have heard this word Nandi. So before marriage, that day they perform this Nandi. That means all the forefathers will be, honored, and there's some dana given. Even today, many of the traditional families they do this Nandi. So that is what it is. And then Bhishmaka worshipped the forefathers, demigods, and brahmanas, feeding them all properly. That is one of the important aspect of feeding all these brahmanas, doing yajna for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord and distributing to the demigods like this. Then he had the traditional mantras chanted for the well-being of the bride. These are all to be done to protect the bride and the bridegroom, so that nothing untoward happens from then on till the marriage is completed. It's a big thing. At that time, if suddenly there's a major sickness which falls, and then marriage has to be cancelled, or there is some calamity happens in the family because of which the marriage has to be stopped. Very rarely, when you do all these things, those things do not happen. These are all there. And that is why they are performed, and that gives the protection till the event is completed. There is nothing goes wrong in that family. Next, the bride cleaned her teeth and bathed, after which she put on the auspicious wedding necklace. Then she was dressed in brand new upper and lower garments and adorned with the most excellent jeweled ornaments. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti, only spotless clothing fresh off the loom should be worn during auspicious ceremonies. We do this, right? Even during our initiation, we are asked to wear fresh, new clothes, not fresh clothes also, like new. He mentioned, right? Fresh off the loom. That means it is like new clothes brought after the clothes are manufactured. You don't use used clothes, you cannot use fresh ones. Spotless clothing. Auspicious ceremonies, all auspicious ceremonies. So marriage is also like that. So it's used like that. Then the best of Brahmanas chanted mantras of the Rig, Sama, and Yajurveda for the bride's protection, and the priests learned in the Atharva Veda offered oblations to pacify the controlling planets. So here it is mentioned, all the four Vedas they sang, but the Atharva Veda, that has lot of verses which sort of pacifies the controlling planets. That means we are all controlled by different planets at different points of our time. No, so there is, they will say today this sun is getting retrograde, sunny is getting retrograde, and during this period it will be like this for you. This Rasi has these issues. This Rasi is getting very good time, like that. So these are the controlling planets of each individual. According to our karma, they are controlling us differently. That happens. But this Atharva Veda has mantras which sort of pacifies them, tries to kind of build a nice relationship with all these planetary planets, that is the lords of all these planets, and develop a favorable condition like this. Next. Outstanding in his knowledge of regulative principles, the king rewarded the Brahmanas with gold, silver clothing, cows, and sesame seeds mixed with raw sugar. So these are the procedures of how you, honor the guests, particularly in this case for the marriage. How the king, who's invited all the people, how they are, he's welcoming all the invitees. So what all has to be given? He's well versed. He knows exactly how to do these things nicely, and he's doing accordingly. Raja Damogosa, Lord of Chedi, had also engaged Brahmanas, expert in chanting mantras, to perform all rituals necessary to assure his son's prosperity. Now, who is this new character being introduced? Raja Damogosha. So he is the father of Sishupala. So the scene is now like There it is Rukmini's father preparing. And what is happening in the bridegroom's area, that is being talked about here. So he also, the bridegroom's father is also doing likewise what Rukmini's father is doing. That engaged expert Brahmanas in chanting mantras to perform all rituals necessary to assure his son's prosperity. Okay, next. King Damogosha traveled to Kundina accompanied by armies of elephants exuding Mada, chariots hung with golden chains, and numerous cavalry and infantry soldiers. Naturally, these big kings have so much men and resources at their disposal. So they are going with all of this. Bhishmaka, the lord of Vidarbha, came out of the city and met King Damogosha, offering him tokens of respect. Bhishmaka then settled Damogosha in a residence especially constructed for the occasion. So the girl's father goes to the border, receives the bridegroom's father and all the entire entourage very respectfully, and then gives them separate quarters so that they can comfortably settle down, refresh themselves, have nice prasadam, all these things. We can relate to some mega event is happening. We also do this, right? When Maharaj is coming, then how he's received at the airport, how he's taken, and how he's received very nicely at the temple, and how he's given the quarters. Like this, big festivals we do, how everything is so nicely organized. So here also it's all happening. So that minute details are being taken care of. Shishupala supporters Salva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra, and Vidurata all came along with Poundraka and thousands of other kings. So now all these names, if you read, all of these are demons. So somewhere along the line, we will see Krishna killing Salva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra, all these fellows. So Prabhupada is right. This purport says like this. Those familiar with the history of Lord Krishna's life will immediately recognize the names given in this text. The kings mentioned here maintained a deep animosity towards Sri Krishna and opposed him in one way or another. But they were all to be frustrated and defeated on the occasion of Shishupala's would-be wedding, which is never to happen. To secure the bride for Shishupala, the kings who envied Krishna and Balrama came to the following decision among themselves. If Krishna comes here with Balrama and the other Yadus to steal the bride, we shall band together and fight them. Thus, those envious kings went to the wedding with their entire armies and a full complement of military conveyance. This is all their speculative thinking. They are thinking, when Krishna, if at all he comes, we will finish him off. We will take all the armies, all of these rascals together are combining here, that band, that we will see later also. We shall band together. That means we will all stick together and, form a very strong group, and with which we can actually attack and, destroy Krishna. Here it is mentioned, the word samhataga, which normally means bound tightly together, may also mean thoroughly struck down. So Sanskrit, has different words in what different meaning for different words. In what context it is used is important. So one is this band together can be understood when you read the word samhataha. But the same word samhataga can also be meaning that what is that? Thoroughly struck down. So very, very strong words. Thoroughly struck down. That means no way of escaping. Thoroughly struck down. So those fellows were thinking that they will band together and kill, but the real actual what is going to happen is they will be thoroughly struck down. But that word is true. But it's all a question of where you see that, in what context you see the word. So they saw it in the wrong manner. But in reality, the actual meaning of that samhataha is thoroughly struck down. All these fellows will be thoroughly struck down. Next. When Lord Balaram heard about these preparations of the inimical kings, and how Lord Krishna has set off had set off alone to steal the bride, he feared that a fight would ensue. Immersed in affection for his brother, he hurried to Kundina with a mighty army consisting of infantry and of soldiers riding on elephants, horses, and chariots. So Krishna, he just left alone. Right? With this Brahmana, he said, you go on our chariot and I will board this chariot. Yes, Krishna left. He didn't even tell Balram, it seems, from this thing. But Balram knew that his brother has left alone. And he think, oh, these fellows are all scheming like this. So let me take some backup to help Krishna. That is, Balram knows Krishna can handle all these fellows without any support. But that is his love for Krishna. Sometimes, we say, no, why, Krishna is self-sufficient. So why I should give him any offering? Anyway, he is satisfied. Without anything, he doesn't need anything for me. So why I should give bhoga? I don't give any bhoga. Right? Sometimes we, in this impersonal way, we think, I know Krishna has got everything. What I will have to give him? My money is nothing. It is of no use to Krishna. Let me not give. So this is a very impersonal way of thinking. Yes, everything is there, but I have to show my love by giving. I have to show my love by serving. It is not whether Krishna wants or not. I am here to serve him and I am making my little effort. So Balram is bringing this point. Yes, Krishna can handle it, but I have got love for Krishna, so I will, be there. I will be there to support him. This is the mood. The lovely daughter of Bhishmaka anxiously awaited the arrival of Krishna, but when she did not see the Brahmana return, she thought as follows. Princess Rukmini thought, alas, my wedding is to take place when the night ends. How unlucky I am. Lotus-eyed Krishna does not come. I don't know why. And even the Brahmana messenger has not returned. So Prabhupada is saying, it is apparent from this verse, as confirmed by Srila Sridhara Swami, that the present scene takes place before sunrise. Next. Perhaps the faultless Lord, even while preparing to come here, saw something contemptible in me and therefore has not come to take my hand. So she's wondering now. This scene is about her anxiety. See, just imagine, put ourselves in that place and see. So tomorrow, early morning, when the sun rises, I'll be married to this Shishupala. And my entire purpose is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, be his servant, be his wife. And in this state, with so many preparations happening, she is in real anxiety. How will I be saved? Will I not be saved? Will Krishna come? Will he not come? Is he angry with me? Does he see some fault in me because of which he is rejecting me? This is all going on in her head. It has expressed here, the Lord himself is anavadya, faultless. And if he saw some fault in Rukmini, she would be an unworthy bride for him. It was natural for the young princess to feel such anxiety. And naturally, if Krishna has decided not to come, the Brahmana will not have the guts to come in front of Rukmini and tell her, right, oh, Krishna has rejected your proposal. Can he say, come and stand in front of the princess like that and say? So he would have also not come. That is why Brahmana has also not come. Krishna has also not come. This is Rukmini's thinking. She's thinking like that. Next. I'm extremely unfortunate, for the Creator is not favorably disposed towards me, nor is the great Lord Shiva, or perhaps Shiva's wife, Devi, who is known as Gauri, Rudrani, Girija, and Sati, has turned against me. So now she's in that anxiety. She is thinking all possible causes. Oh, is Lord Brahma not happy with me? Because these are all powerful forces, right? We have to be mindful of all that, If Lord Brahma is unhappy with me, then he will put some obstacle in my path. Maybe he does not want me to marry Lord Krishna. Or is it Lord Shiva? Or his wife, Sati? Because, It's sometimes mentioned Lord Sati, Lord Shiva or Sati. If you are wanting a good husband, then you pray to Lord Shiva, like that. It is all there. So if such such thought of getting the good husband is not happening, then maybe the the one the deity who's facilitating such things, Lord Shiva and Sati, they are unhappy. Maybe that is why I'm not getting Krishna's favorable response. That is what she's thinking. She is talking to Sati. Oh, you left your body, Sati, because of some issues with your father, like that. Why don't you take pity on me? You left your body, because of your with that affection with your husband and some issues which you could not tolerate, which happened to your husband. So it's similar emotion, right? The feeling for the husband. Now I am also in that kind of a situation, having a lot of affection for Krishna. Why don't you please help me marry Krishna? This is her mood. Was writing thus, the Acharya with realized poetic sensitivity interprets the various names used in this verse. So actually, the various names we saw, right? Lord Creator, Lord Shiva, Sati, in different names for Gauri, Rudrani, Girija, Sati. So each one has a different meaning. Rudrani, Girija, Sati, because he committed thing like that. So they have explained all this in this particular verse. Next one. As she thought in this way, the young maiden, whose mind has been stolen by Krishna, closed her tear-filled eyes, remembering that there was still time. But she also feels there is hope. It is still not over. The game is not over. There is still more time. So let me, console myself. It will happen. Krishna will come. She is thinking like that. Srila Sridhara Swami explains the word Kalagna as follows. Rukmini thought it is not even the right time yet for Govinda to come, and thus she felt a bit consoled. O king, as the bride thus awaited the arrival of Govinda, she felt a twitch in her left thigh, arm, and eye. This was a sign that something desirable would happen. So, nimitta jnana, this is called, there is something called that some signs happens, then they indicate something. So sometimes, they say if you are about to go out of your home, for example, if a cow comes, it is good. If a cat goes from, one of the direction, left to right or right to left, I don't remember. These are there in the book called Nimitta Jnana. I have read that book. So there are some, even Prabhupada used to follow them. Sometimes when he finds that, see, these are signs of what is to happen. So we sometimes give importance to that. So, okay, he goes out and he sees something like that, he will come back. He will say, I'm not traveling now because this sign is not very good. So like that. So these are, this is also a science. There is some kind of a science which you should be able to interpret properly. So this twitching of the thigh arm left side, that means something good and favorable will happen. So now she gets that symptom. Then that Nimitta Jnana, it's revealing. No, don't worry, Rukmini. Krishna will come. Just then, the purest of learned Brahmanas, following Krishna's order, came to see the divine princess Rukmini within the inner chambers of the palace. According to Sridhara Swami, Sri Krishna had reached the gardens outside the city. And out of concern for Rukmini, he had instructed the Brahmana to tell her of his arrival. Noting the Brahmana's joyful face and serene movements, saintly Rukmini, who could expertly interpret such symptoms, inquired from him with a pure smile. Now Rukmini is so happy that this Brahmana has come. Now you can just close your eye and imagine like being there. It is so beautifully explained. It is just these explanations right stand out in front of us like a scene, right, as we see. The Brahmana announced to her the arrival of Lord Yadunandana and relayed the Lord's promise to marry her. Haribol. Princess Vaidarbhi was overjoyed to learn of Krishna's arrival. Not finding anything at hand suitable to offer the Brahmana, she simply bowed down to him. The reciprocation of what news that the Brahmana brought. See, the consort of Lord Sri Krishna bowing down to the Brahmana. What else he can ask for? Right? This is acknowledgement of his service to her. She is what? She is the all auspicious Lakshmi, right? And she bowing to this Brahmana is the greatest favor. Like one time when Lord Ramachandra, when Hanuman, when he went and found out Mother Sita and he came back. So when he came back, Lord Rama, he came with the news that I found Sita. At that time, Lord Rama said, I have nothing to give you right now. I don't have anything in my hand. This is the greatest news you have brought up. And then he embraced Lord Hanuman. What else you can ask? Embraced by Lord Rama is the greatest thing one can get. And here, like this, Rukmini bows down to this Brahmana. What else he can ask? Presenting them with Madhu. Okay, 1 second. I think I skipped one verse. Now, after this, what happens? What her father is doing, that we will see now. The king, upon hearing that Krishna and Balarama had come and were eager to witness his daughter's wedding, went forth with abundant offering to greet them as music responded. So the king was happy to receive Krishna and Balaram. So whatever respect he gave to that bridegroom's father, he is giving here to Krishna as well. Presenting them with Madhuparka, new clothing and other desirable gifts, he worshipped them according to standard rituals. Generous King Bhishmaka arranged opulent accommodation for the two lords and also for their army and entourage. In this way, he offered them proper hospitality. So he was neutral. He was not inimical to Krishna. Thus, it was that Bhishmaka gave all desirable things to the kings who had assembled for the occasion, honoring them as befitting their political power, age, physical prowess, and wealth. So he welcomed, he was a perfect host. All the kings who had come, according to what is their position, power, whatever, he received them with a similar, protocol, very nicely. Then, when the residents of Vidarbhapura heard that Lord Krishna has come, they all went to see him. With the cupped palms of their eyes, they drank the honey of his lotus face. Very poetical. Then the people of the city said, Rukmini and no one else deserved to become his wife. And he also, possessing such flawless beauty, is the only suitable husband for Princess Vaishmi. Princess Vaishmi is Vaishmaka's daughter is Vaishmi. That is Rukmini. So different names, different context. So they are all saying, the people of the kingdom, oh, Rukmini, only proper suitable bridegroom is Krishna. And the other side, people are saying, Krishna is the only suitable bridegroom for Rukmini. Like this. The people are all very happy. You will see something very nice after this. How they are praised. This one you see, may Achyuta, the creator of the three worlds, be satisfied with whatever pious work we may have done and show his mercy by taking the hand of Vaidarbhi. See, here, all the citizens, they are ready to give all their pious deeds to Rukmini. And with that power of all their pious deeds, they are praying that, Rukmini gets married to Krishna. Just imagine. We all want to do so many good work and keep it all as reserve in our bank. Bank means our, what do you call, our punya, and keep it safe so that tomorrow we can experience it. Right? People do this karma kanda because why they do all these sacrifices, all these yajna, so many things, ritualistic things, even going to temples, because they know these are all good activities. And these good activities will generate good karma. And then we will take that balance. We will start using those balances when we have a need like this. This is our karmi way of thinking. But here, all these people, all the citizens, they are praying like this. Be satisfied with whatever pious work we may have done and show His mercy by taking the hand of either be. See, here Prabhupada writes, right? The devoted citizens of Vidarbha lovingly offered their entire stock of pious credit to Princess Rukmini. They were very eager to see her marry Lord Krishna. See, this is the pure devotee's way of devotion to the Lord. They don't want anything for themselves. They want everything for the Lord. Lord here, Lord and His consort. They are ready. Give all my punya, give all my good things to Rukmini. And because of that, let her get married to Krishna. Bound by their swelling love, the city residents spoke in this way. Then the bride, protected by guards, left the inner palace to visit the temple of Ambika. So now the next item in the marriage process is that the bride has to go and visit the temple. This is the tradition, right? In that tradition, they have to go to this temple of Ambika, where the bride will pay her respects, make her desires, express her desires, express her gratitude, everything, and come back. Okay, next. Rukmini silently went out on foot to see the lotus feet of the deity Bhavani, accompanied by her mothers and girlfriends and protected by the king's valiant soldiers who held their upraised weapons at the ready. She simply observed her mind with the lotus feet of Krishna. And all the while, Mridanga's conches, Panava's horns, and other instruments resounded. Behind the bride followed thousands of prominent courtesans bearing various offerings and presents, along with well-adorned brahmanas, wives singing and reciting prayers and bearing gifts of garlands, scents, clothing, and jewelry. There were also professional singers, musicians, bards, chronicles, and heralds. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti explains that from her own quarters up to the temple of Bhavani, Rukmini went by palanquin and thus was easily protected. Only for the last 12 to 15 feet from the palace to the temple area did she go on foot with royal bodyguards stationed outside the temple on all sides. So this is to tell what amount of security is there and how much scope is there for Krishna to abduct her. So basically only the 10 to 15 feet where she will be walking alone. That also protected by the bodyguards who are aiming directly to shoot anyone who comes in between. Right? We see all these presidents and the prime ministers when they come, how within a fraction, if someone tries within a fraction, he's neutralized. They immediately shoot him down. But still, these things happen, right? Donald Trump was attacked in the biggest nation, most secure, most so-called secure thing. Someone took a shot at Donald Trump. And Krishna's mercy, he escaped with a scratch of that bullet. But, but then that guy was neutralized immediately. He couldn't fire more shots. Within that, he was neutralized like this. So there, so much protection is there. Now, Krishna can abduct her only within that 12 to 15 feet steps that where she will be exposed to the outside world. See, upon reaching the goddess's temple, Rukmini first washed her lotus feet and hands and then sipped water for purification. Thus sanctified and peaceful, she came into the presence of Mother Ambika. What is the sipping water? Is basically achaman, right? That is what it is. Thus sanctified and peaceful, she came into the presence of Mother Ambika. The older wives of Brahmanas, expert in knowledge of rituals, led young Rukmini in offering respects to Bhavani, who appeared with her consort Lord Bhava. According to the Acharyas, here the term Bhavan Vitam indicates that in the Ambika temple visited by Rukmini, the presiding deity was the goddess whose husband appeared in an accompanying role. Thus, the ritual was properly performed by women. So, in some temples, the priorities for sometimes Lord Shiva, sometimes priorities for Parvati. Of course, if it is Shiva's temple, main deity is Shiva, then Parvati is also there, but importance is given to Shiva. Similarly, the other side, if it is, for example, the deity is main temple is Parvati, Shiva is also there, but prominent is given to, like for example, when we go to Kanchi, we have this temple, Kamakshi Amman. So in Kanchi, Kamakshi, they say. So their deity, Lord, Mother Parvati, is significant. So that temple is named after her, and all the worship is there for her. Of course, Lord Shiva is also there. And incidentally, there is also one Divya Desam, that means one Lord Vishnu's there inside the sanctum sanctorum of that temple. We all went for an yatra to Kanchipuram and we went to this temple. So Lord Shiva, in that Kamakshi Amman temple, there is one pillar in which one of the beautiful deity of Vishnu is there, and that was one of the Divya Desam. So we could take darshan of that Vishnu there. So here, this is also mentioned that where the deity is goddess Ambika, then the pujaris there were ladies also. Princess Rukmini prayed, "O Mother Ambika, wife of Lord Shiva, I repeatedly offer my obeisances unto you, together with your children. So Lord Ganesha and Lord Muruga or Kartikeya, I am offering my respects to all of you. May Lord Krishna become my husband. Please grant this." So she is asking for this boon from Mother Ambika. Rukmini worshipped the goddess with water, scents, whole grains, incense, clothing, garments, garlands, necklaces, jewelry, and other prescribed offerings and gifts, and also with arrays of lamps. The married Brahmana women each performed worship simultaneously with the same items, also offering savories and cakes, prepared betel nut, sacred threads, fruit, and sugarcane juice. All the procedure of worship is mentioned here. After that, what happens? The ladies gave the bride the remnants of the offering and then blessed her. She in turn bowed down to them and the deity and accepted the remnants as prasadam. The princess then gave up her vow of silence and left the Ambika temple, holding on to the maidservant with her hand, which was adorned with a jeweled ring. So now it's all over. Now the princess gracefully walks back to the palanquin, and of course, there are servants holding her hand like that. Now the scene. Rukmani appeared as enchanting as the Lord's illusory potency, who enacts even the sober, who enchants even the sober and grave. Thus the kings gazed upon her virgin beauty, her shapely waist, and her lovely face adorned with earrings. Her hips were graced with a jewel-studded belt. Her breasts were just budding, and her eyes seemed apprehensive of her encroaching locks of hair. She smiled sweetly, her jasmine bud teeth reflecting the glow of her bimba red lips. As she walked with the motions of a royal swan, the effulgence of her tinkling ankle bells beautified her feet. Seeing her, the assembled heroes were totally bewildered. Lust tore at their hearts. Indeed, when the king saw her broad smile and shy glance, they became stupefied, dropped their weapons, and fell unconscious to the ground from their elephants, chariots, and horses. On the pretext of the procession, Rukmini displayed her beauty for Krishna alone. Slowly she advanced the two moving lotus whirls of her feet, awaiting the arrival of the Supreme Lord. With the fingernails of her left hand, she pushed some strands of hair away from her face and shyly looked from the corners of her eyes at the king standing before her. At that moment, she saw Krishna. Then, while his enemies looked on, the Lord seized the princess who was eager to mount his chariot. So very beautiful. You can't explain better than these words there, directly from Bhagavatam. So beautiful. I will read this purport also. I can't explain it better than how Prabhupada writes. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Rukmini was anxious that her locks of hair might impede her vision. Since she was most eager to see her beloved Krishna, the non-devotees or demons are bewildered at seeing the opulence of the Lord and think that his potency is meant for their gross sense gratification. This is the problem. That, we all lust after Lord's potency. We all want all the money for ourselves. We want all the beauty for ourselves. Everything belongs to the Lord. So in one way, everybody is acting like Ravana, like this, this Shishupala. What is the Lord's? How can we hanker for that? Right? People want Lakshmi, but they don't want Krishna. So this is what is the problem here. And that's a very demoniac way of thinking. It's meant for the gross and think that his potency is meant for their gross sense gratification. But Rukmini, an expansion of Krishna's internal pleasure potency, was meant for the Lord alone. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti quotes the following verse to describe the kind of women known as Shama. So, Shama means what? It is mentioned here. A woman is called Shama when her breasts are very firm and when someone in her presence feels warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So, here there is a reference to Rukmini as Shama, and that what is Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti definition of this word Shama we saw. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti further pointed out that since the beautiful form of Rukmini is a manifestation of Lord's internal energy, the non-devotees cannot perceive her. Thus, the heroic kings assembled in Vidarbha were agitated with lust upon seeing the Lord's illusory potency and expansion of Rukmini. In other words, no one can lust after the Lord's eternal consort, since as soon as one's mind is contaminated with lust, the covering of Maya separates one from the pristine beauty of the spiritual world and its inhabitants. Finally, Srimati Rukmini Devi felt shy as she looked from the corners of her eyes at the other kings, for she did not want to meet the glances of these inferior men. So why she, through the corner she saw, is being explained by Vishwanatha Chakravarti, because she didn't want to see those lusting fellows directly. Lifting the princess onto his chariot, whose flag bore the emblem of Garuda, Lord Madhava drove back the circle of kings with Balarama in the lead. He slowly exited like a lion removing the prey from the midst of jackals. So, very nice here. With the flag bore the emblem of Garuda. To talk about the swiftness with which he acted. Garuda is very fast. That's why it is used here. Emblem of Garuda. And Lord Madhava drove back the circle of kings. So, they had formed a Vyuga. So if Krishna, you remember earlier we saw we will all band together and, attack Krishna if he comes to us. So they had a plan. They knew how to, if Krishna attacks and takes the princess, how to protect the princess. So they had prepared a, strategy, and they put all the rings around that. But Krishna was driving through all of these things, zigzagging and managing all these fellows easily. And it also mentioned he slowly exited. That means he had no fear. He just exited very gracefully. And how it is mentioned? It is mentioned the analogy is like a lion removing his prey from the midst of jackals. So if jackals are all holding a prey, a lion will come slowly walking. He doesn't have to fear. The jackals will be out of fear. The lion will come very gracefully, pick up that prey and go. The jackals can do nothing there. That we have seen. If you see National Geography, you will see such things very often. So that has been explained here. The next verse, it's very beautiful. Now you will see this. The king, inimical to the Lord, headed by Jarasandha, could not tolerate this humiliating defeat. They exclaimed, "Oh, damn us! Though we are mighty archers, mere cowards have stolen our honor, just as puny animals might steal the honor of lions." So here, the earlier words said how the lion is taking its claim for the prey. Here, these fellows are thinking ulta. They are thinking the jackal has come to take the lion's prey. The jackal is not able to defend it, but they are thinking they are great. But actual question is like the last verse, where the lion is taking its claim and the jackals are not having any ability to do anything. They just simply have to stand and watch. So it's very nicely explained. From the last two verses of this chapter, it is clear that the perverted intelligence of demons makes them perceive things in a way exactly opposite to reality. It is clearly stated that Krishna stole Rukmini like a lion taking his prey from the midst of jackals. The demons, however, saw themselves as lions and Lord Krishna as the inferior creature. Without Krishna consciousness, life becomes most dangerous. So this is our way of thinking, that, we are better than the Supreme Lord. Even if we are defeated, we give ourselves the credit and blame everything else in something else. So this is very nicely explained. Thus ends the purport of the humble servant of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 53rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna Kidnaps Rukmini. So this actually, if you see this, you notice that, this 10th canto, Prabhupada had not written. That's why you don't see much of a commentary, because this was compiled by his disciples. There are 3 disciples, I think, who compiled from then on, because Prabhupada, I think, at that point in time went back to Godhead. So the balance portion was done by his disciples. And maybe that is why Prabhupada already wrote the Krishna book. So the 10th canto, whatever is Krishna's pastimes, Prabhupada thought, I may not have time to do this. So he directly went into the Krishna book. Before he finished all the Bhagavatam, he went to Krishna book and gave Krishna book before. So that 10th canto, he could not personally finish, but it is already there in the Krishna book. So that's why we are seeing here, this commentary is compiled by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. So I end here. I'm sorry I went over time. And anyway, we also covered the entire chapter. I stop here. If there are any comments or any questions, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanuvat pranams, very wonderfully narrated. Thank you very much for the class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanuvat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat pranam to everybody assembled.
Prabhu. Dhanvat pranam, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Dhanvat pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Shri Hari Prabhu, you can take over.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.